Good afternoon. We can start the next session. First, I would like to welcome all of the participants who are today with us in the Turkish pavilion and who are following us from the YouTube. Today we will have two presentations regarding greenhouse gas emissions from transportations and micromobility solutions. And next will be about the energy efficiency measures. First, I will present the micromobility studies of Turkey. I would like to first introduce myself. I am working for the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. I was head of department in Air Management Department, but my department recently changed as Marine. Today I will give a brief presentation about the transport emissions studies performed in Turkey. According to the inventory performed for the greenhouse gas emissions regarding the years 1990 and 2019, as you all seen, greenhouse gas emissions is increasing rapidly. In the scope of this study, we performed some studies regarding contribution of sectors. The name of the project is Low Carbon. Regarding these sectors, the four main has been chosen and studied in detail. According to the studies conducted, energy sector is the main sector who is responsible for the 87% of the total greenhouse gas emissions in Turkey. And regarding the transport sector, it's included in the energy sector also. There is a subdivision called greenhouse gas emissions caused by combustion. According to the inventory of 2019, nearly 23% of these emissions is caused only by transportation. Then when I come to the greenhouse gas emission inventory wrap-up, transport sector is responsible for 16% of total emissions. And the main source of greenhouse gas emissions caused by transportation is the road transport. The percentage is 93%. The highest share in these emissions comes from the diesel vehicles with 73%. And this is followed by the LPG vehicles with 12% and the gasoline vehicles with 8%. In the scope of the study, it's also stated that there is 28 different mitigation actions that will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions of transportation sector. According to these modeling studies carried out, it has been determined that it is possible to reduce greenhouse gas emissions of transportation by 20% by 2050 if all the mitigation measures is applied. I mean the best scenario. 3 of these 28 mitigation actions is about the micromobility. One is promoting electrical vehicles, the other is promoting cleaner vehicles and new generation two-wheel vehicles in the city centers. And the third one is expanding bicycle and two-wheel vehicles to access to urban rail systems, I mean to the public transport. By considering these mitigation actions, as goal, considering cycling and walking infrastructure is stated in the presidential execution program. According to these goals, 3,000 kilometers of cycling pathway, 2,000 kilometers of greenway, and 6 50 kilometers of environmental friendly streets will be completed until the end of the 2023. The main aim is to reduce emissions caused by transportation, and the other is improving the physical and mental health of students and increasing the quality of their life. And the other is to raise the public awareness and at the end to have the more livable cities for all. Yeah. In the scope of these studies, as the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change, ministries has been supported by 50% grants. And if they want help, if they need support in terms of tender procedures, we can also support them for their tender procedures by İlbank. It's a general directorate facilitating under the ministry. In addition to these bicycle road construction supports, we also have studies regarding inter-city cycling routes. As you all know, in the European Union, there is a huge cycling network named Eurovelo. It has nearly 90,000 kilometers of cycling routes. There are 70 routes coming from different countries. And now we are working on the intercity cycling routes of Turkey. We prepared our master plan. The Eurovelo number 13, the Iron Curtain, the name is that, starts from the Nordic countries and go through the mid-Europe, then comes to Bulgaria at the end. Now we studied the routes in order to connect them. The name is Anatolian route and the others is the coastal route. We also have another connection to Eurovelo. The name of route is Mediterranean, it's number 8. It is connected to Athens by marine transportation, and now we plan some routes to connect these routes also. It goes from the Aegean region, I mean the coastal sides. Now, for the Anatolian route, we completed our master plan and the implementation plans is also under construction. We also performed some legislative actions because, you know, micromobility is a solution for emissions, but there are some conflicts regarding security and administrative issues. So we made some regulations on some laws regarding the security and administrative issues in order to promote the use of electrical scooters, I mean the shared ones. We also regulate the occupancy expenses. We try to minimize them in order to give service to users as cheap as possible. Also, Metropolitan Municipality Law, and the Highway Traffic Law has been reviewed in this scope. And for the electric scooters, as the first in the world, we have the national legislation regarding electrical scooters. This bylaw has been published by 3 ministries, in the coordination of 3 ministries: Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change, Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, and Ministry of Interior Affairs, coordinated the electrical scooter bylaw together. There are some examples in Europe and US considering some federal laws or some regulations, but it's the first one as national. I want to give some brief information regarding this legislation. The main aim is to reduce the exhaust emissions caused by transport and to minimize the negative impacts. And the other aim is to have individual transport, but the climate-friendly one. It will also help to reduce the traffic congestion, to reduce them. And one of the others is to promote a scooter instead of personal vehicle for short distances, and to provide integrated sustainable transport systems. I mean, integrating the scooter sharing system to public transportation, and via these we will promote micro mobility. Bylaw also includes where to ride. If there is cycling lanes, according to law, you have to ride on these roads. If there is no, you have to consider the traffic safety, and you have to ride at the right side. Maybe at the UK, you have to use the left side. As I mentioned at the previous slides, the infrastructure is very important, and we are supporting municipalities for these. And electrical scooters can be used on the roads, though speed limit is below 50 kilometers. In the cities, there is some highways have higher speed limits, but by promoting these, maybe it has to be renewed. And there may be some prohibited areas by the local authorities, and it's also forbidden for the electrical scooters. Bylaw includes also the issues for drivers and the others to be careful. Drivers must be at least 16 years old. It's about the safety issues, but also about the payment issues and the make them use by themselves. It is not allowed to have passengers behind you. Only one person can ride it. Loads other than goods that can be carried on your backpack is not allowed. Only 2 scooters can be ride side by side in a road. And it is not allowed to ride on the pedestrian roads. It is also forbidden to hold a motor vehicle and go through with it. It must not be ridden with one hand, and the acrobatic movements during riding is not allowed. There are some rules regarding parking. It must be parked without preventing pedestrians, disabled people, and the traffic. You have to consider while parking the public wellness. It is written in the bylaw. And it must not be parked on the personal properties. You have to use the roads of the municipalities for it, because they are shared. We have also the criteria for electrical scooters inside. The electrical scooters that can be allowed to use as shared in Turkey have the speed which is not exceed the 25 kilometers per hour. It has to have a brake mechanism, and in the front it has to have a lighter which give white light and at least 20 meters. At the back, they have to have a red light and a reflector, and it have to have a bell that one can hear from the 30 meters. This is very specifically important safety issues. For the companies who wants to operate some shared electrical scooters in the cities, there is a procedure of certification and licensing. They have to apply to Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure to be certificated. I will give details required to get the certificate. And after that, when they get the certificates, they have to apply to license. If they want to operate in the metropolitan area, they have to apply to transport coordination centers. Otherwise, they have to apply to provincial traffic commissions, and they have to start operation in 45 days. Yes, perfect. Maybe I can use this one. Certification requirements for shared scooters. One company has to have a capital of at least 500,000 Turkish liras. And they have to have a website and mobile application. This mobile application is very useful for safety issues also and for the payments. It's for safe of all companies and the users. They have to have the storage for database in Turkey. They have to be located in Turkey because of the security of the private data. They have to have at least 250 electrical scooters. They have to have some quality documents of TSEN and ISO. And they have to be a member of the electronic notification system. This system has been prepared by the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. By these electronic system, they are able to follow the number of scooters with their IDs from an electronic system. What are the criteria for licensing? When they get the certification, they will have to apply to license to the local authority. The main issue is that unfair competition will not be allowed. We try to be fair because we want to sector get bigger. We are supporting all of the initiations. They have to pay attention to supply and the demand balance. And the integration with public transport have to be considered. And in order to prevent the mass of electrical scooters in small cities, we get some limitations about the numbers that can be licensed. Maximum 1 to 200 of the population of the district or the municipality. The number is determined as that. A scooter license can be given by the local authorities. For each company, the maximum permission up to 1/5 of the maximum number. So the fifth company at least have to be at the site at one time. The decision have to be announced for 10 days. The applications have to be separate for each municipality. They are giving license by municipality to municipality. License procedures have to be completed in 16 days. There are some exceptions for electrical scooters numbers. If municipality has population changes seasonally or the demand is higher than that we permit, then it is possible to increase the number by 50%. And for municipalities which has population less than 20,000, the allowable number can be 3 times more because the demand can be more. In private fields such as airports, university campus, the number of restrictions will be determined by the related authority. They are not applied to these rules of these legislation. There are some responsibilities of these companies. They have to use electrical scooters only in the permitted zones. They're, as I mentioned, they're giving ID to us. They have to use at these permitted zones. Electrical scooters out of this licensed area have to be carried back in the permitted area within 48 hours. They have to protect the personal data. They have to obey the related legislation regarding these. They have to provide training about services and safety rules. That means they have to have a video in the application or in the website. They have to have a call center. They have to carry improperly parked electrical scooters within 2 hours. The number of electrical scooters operated have to be 70% to 130%. This means, there is a continuous movement between districts with the electrical scooters. At the morning, it works different, maybe in Istanbul through the coastal side, and at the afternoons, and at the evenings, they go back. But they have to serve properly by arranging these numbers, you have to have at least 70% of the electrical scooters permitted at the site, or maximum as the 130%. At least 30% should be local production. This means it will be valid from 2024. That means electrical scooters that will be used, permitted in order to be used in Turkey, have to be locally produced. We have related legislation saying that one product can be said local if they have such percent of locally produced parts. And they have to have the title, serial number, or ID number on electrical scooters. This is mostly for the local authorities and the policemen to show and apply the rules. And they have to report for some issues daily, for some issues monthly, to the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure for every related information and for every changes. Until now, 18 companies have certificates that is issued by the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. The transport coordination centers in Istanbul, in Ankara, İzmir, Muğla, Adana, Mersin, Konya, Eskişehir, Trabzon, Kayseri, and Antalya implemented decisions regarding the safety issues, the prohibited areas, and they gave the permission numbers. These numbers, maybe for as an example, in Ankara, we have 25 districts, and they now allow to use of the electrical scooters for 8. And they determined the maximum capacity and split it into 5 companies. And they are now in use in most of the cities in Turkey. There is a map of shared micromobility in Europe. As you have seen, in Turkey, we have some cities more using sharing systems, not only for electrical scooters, but for the shared bicycles systems. Thank you very much. I'll be glad if you have questions or comments. Thank you again. If you don't have any comments, maybe we can continue with the next coming presentation. I want to mention that we, before going through the program, we translated this electrical scooter bylaw into English. I have my email address. If you send me an email, I can share the English version of it. Also, if you want the Turkish version with you. Now I want to move the other presentation of today's summit. My colleague Samet Yılancı will present the energy efficiency and zero waste measures in Ministry building. Which is located in Ankara. He is expert, working as an expert in the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. Mr. Yılancı, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Samet Yılancı. I am working at Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. Today my presentation will be on the energy efficiency measurements we applied for our ministry building, and also the zero waste initiatives in our ministry buildings. And I want to give you some brief information about our building. It started to operate in 2015, and it has 3 basements and 19 floors. And total area is 142,166 square meter. And we have 21 different units in our building. And also almost 5,000 people are working in this building. And the energy efficiency studies started in 2017. And with these energy audits, we saw that we can take some measures to decrease our energy consumption. And after these audits, we can decide that we can insulate our basements, and we can improve of our automation system, and then we can change our lighting system to LED. And what we have done, the first thing is the infiltration measures. We try to ensure the full tightness by checking the exterior joints of all space, and also taking various measures to prevent heat breaks, because heat breaks are very important for heat losses. And we also check the hot water system, the areas that constantly need hot water and the areas that use less hot water are separate with different pipeline. And also, thanks to the reprogramming of hot water system, the energy consumption for water heating has reduced significantly. And also, we made some improvement on automation system, and we automated communication capability in all locations, and we monitorize the temperature in all locations for 24 hours. And also we applied some remote control system for heating and cooling system. And also for mechanical system change, we take out the fan coil absorption from out of rooms, and also we combine control panels to one point, and also we applied standby mode for heating system when building is out of operation. And for insulation, we insulated the minus first floor, because our ministry building has the minus second and minus third floor are using for park floor. So we insulate these floor with the other minus second floor with the 10 centimeter rock wool. And also we changed the lighting system when we used almost 10,000 LEDs in these interior areas. And also we checked the sensors in parking areas, which when we are not using the parking areas, it will be closed by itself. And what we are planning to do, we are planning to increase our capacity of our existing photovoltaic system, and the next one is we will install the new photovoltaic system in our open car parking area. In existing photovoltaic system is 18 kilowatt hour, and we will increase it to 125 kilowatt hour with additional panels. And also we calculated that it will impact energy consumption by around 1 kilowatt hour per square meter per year. And the new one, after the feasibility analysis, we can implement that the 700 kilowatt hour per kilowatt hour photovoltaic system could be implemented in this area. And then as a result, it's predicted to reduce the annual total energy consumption by 5 kilowatt hour per square meter. And as you see, after the measures we taken to decrease energy consumption, before 2017, because it's the beginning of the after the measures, in 2016 our ministry building consumed 142 kilowatt hour per square meter, and it decreased to 122 kilowatt hour in 2017, and then in 2018 it goes to 95 kilowatt hour, and it means that almost 0.5% of energy consumption are decreased. And we can see this decrease in the natural gas consumption. In the winter of 2016, it's the highest level, and then in the 2017 it's peaked to 247,963 cubic meter. And then after the installing these measures, it decreased half percent of this consumption. And as you see, the electricity consumption, it's the highest level when the summertime, because in the summertime we have more cooling needs. But after we implement the lighting system change and the automation improvement on automation systems, it decreased a lot. We mitigate a lot. And I want to mention our zero waste initiative we try to implement in our ministry building. The first thing is we removed the PET bottle water in our dining hall, and also we give some training to our personnel related with this work. And also the number of personnel in the temporary storage area has been increased, and also 2 cameras were installed in the temporary storage area to increase the security. And also, other one is our compost machine was changed in 2019, the improved version of this. And our produced composts were collected in our facilities. And at the end of the 2018, our ministry building has got TSA ISO 14001 environmental management system standard. And before this zero waste initiative, we didn't separate our waste. As you see in the graphs, there is no separation in the waste, and total amount of the waste around 50,000 kilogram in 2016. And after the zero waste initiative, it reached to 73,000 kilogram, and you can see that we separate different kind of wastes, such as plastic, metal, glass, and hazardous waste, and paper. And 2018 we add one more kind of waste, as you see, that organic waste and bread, and we use to recycle again. And in our waste consumption is reached to 93,000 kilogram in 2018. And in 2019, it's due to separate all kind of waste, it reached to 205,000 kilogram. And we try to separate the organic waste also. And I want to mention our certificates of our buildings. The first one is green certificate. The buildings, our ministry buildings, get a very good level. As you see, it's the better class than out of these classes. We get 83 points, and when we are calculating these points, we look into our integrated building design and our building materials, indoor quality, energy efficiency, water and waste management, and also innovation. And the other certificate is energy performance certification. We get B class in greenhouse gas emissions and energy performance, and we have nearly 1%. We get our energy from renewable energy by 1%, and as you see, it's very good level for such a building, because our buildings is very big. So that's all I can present. Thank you. I don't have the numbers because another department gave me these numbers. I think we should ask for it. Yeah.
Presentation maybe in the future for the next year.
Okay.
It's okay. You have to update this presentation for next year. Representation and presentation. No, without representation, no presentation. But you are represented already very well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Thank you for the nice speech that you made. This is Zahra Abu Taha. I'm from Jordan. I'm working with Oxfam GB in a recycling project, basically with refugees. And some interesting point that you said that you conducted recycling initiative in your ministry. So I would like to ask what challenges you faced with the staff, because I tried to conduct with the staff that I'm working with. Unfortunately, the staff does not have that much awareness about recycling and separation at source, while the refugees are dealing with separation much better than the staff who are where luckily have better level of education. So did you face such challenges in your ministry or with your staff? If yes, how did you moved on those? And if there is any incentives or what kind of incentives you provide for your staff or those who are applying these recycling initiatives in a better way? Thank you.
Okay. Maybe Nazım Hanım can ask better.
Maybe, thank you very much for the question. Maybe I can answer the question because I'm from the related department who is considering the implementation and legislation regarding also the zero waste project, and the other initiations have been conducted. As a person working in the ministry building that Mr. Yalancı presented. At first, you are getting hard to not using bins that you have near your tables. At the beginning of these, they collected the bins, I mean the bins we have in our rooms. They placed some bins which allows you to collect it in 6 branches. Have 6 different bins together. So you have to collect your waste separately. Yeah, at the beginning you are getting hard, but you are allowing. And personally for me, also we have a huge waste collection things at the out of the ministry. I am now in 3 years collecting my waste separately in my house and coming with them into ministry, and it is very easy for me now to collect them separately. So you're getting used to do the things, and we have to change our habits, and if you believe it, it is more easier to change your behaviors. I'm sorry.
Sorry. For the incentive part, do you provide any incentives for staffs or people who are separating?
Yes. Exactly. The good question. Maybe our deputy
Sorry
minister.
for interrupting, but the most important thing is for the implementing of this separate zero waste model in the buildings. You have to start removing the bins under the tables. So we have removed all the bins, I mean, for more than 4 years. So in any of the table, we don't have even a single one. Even in my table, as a deputy minister, we don't have the bins. That is the first rule. And because of that, almost 4 years, we haven't sent even a single kilogram of waste to the landfill. Because we separate all of them, and also they collect separately, and then they sell it. Now, according to the Turkish zero waste regulation, the buildings or the companies or the schools who have the certificate of zero waste implementing in that building, if they collect the waste differently, paper, plastics, and the others, because it has a value, they can sell it to the licensed factories, to licensed companies. So they come and take it in order to recycle them, to help actually the circular economy. So that's why, I mean, these are not, we don't see them as a waste, we see them as a value now. That is important. Once we understand that they are important, valuable stuff, then they can get money, they can sell it instead of sending to the landfill. Because once we send them to the landfill, that will produce green gas emissions there. So that's why there's a local solutions for each building is very important. We already established all these separated bins in the other governmental offices in Ankara, and also in the presidential buildings, and also the almost in all the cities in the government, as to be an example to the private sector. But the problem to solve this in the houses and also in the flats, in the apartments, how to solve this, because the waste is coming from there. So in the new legislation, the zero waste legislation, we changed one more thing, that the municipalities should put blue color bins out in the streets, very close to the buildings. If they don't, if the municipalities cannot afford to do that, but the buildings, you know, they have to do it by themselves. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You know, because people, they complain like this: I just collect everything. Even you know, even my mother, they say, I collect everything, paper, plastics, you know, differently. But when I give them to the man who comes from the municipality, they mix them again, which is not so. It is useless. Whatever I do at home. So it is. So this, you have to connect these issues together. But that's not that easy. This is coming from the culture, and it takes time. If you would like to have a sustainably doing this, it takes time. I mean, at least we need to have another 10 years to be like European Union countries. So that's not that easy. You have to educate people. You have to regulate the system. You have to put the laws and punishments and everything. You know, that's not that easy. But you have to start from a certain point in order to have a success. Thank you.
Office and even with refugees level, as you said, they separate at home, and then the trolley worker come and collect them, and they mix it again. So they start like losing the belief in the idea. So we just make it easier, and we say dry and wet waste, and it becomes easier. So they become more collaborative with us. So maybe for changing the behavior and changing ideas, we have to deal with people as simple as they are, not to make complicity for them. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Are there any more comments or questions? I can't show any reflections. So thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much for your interest. It was the end of the... Thank you.